The Left Hand of Darkness by Ursula K. Guin. The Game of Influence. In the shadowed corridors of Karhaide's ancient palace, where the stone walls bore witness to the silent play of power, Guin, an envoy from the distant star-faring civilization of the Ecumen, stood resolute. His mission was to persuade Karhaide, a proud and isolated nation on the planet Gethin, to join a vast alliance of planets sharing knowledge and culture. The air was heavy with the scent of intrigue, and the soft rustle of silk robes betrayed the presence of unseen observers. The Sineth Valley dispute, a long-standing territorial conflict between Karhaide and its neighbor Guin, loomed over Guin's efforts like a dark cloud. This dispute, rooted in a historical claim by Karhaide's past ruler and complicated by the valley's cultural significance to the Orgada people, threatened to undermine the fragile peace and derail Guin's mission. Straven, the Prime Minister of Karhaide, was a figure of enigma, his allegiance a tapestry woven from loyalty and foresight. His support for Guin's cause shone like a solitary star in the night sky, yet the winds of political change threatened to extinguish it. "Guin," he whispered, his voice barely rising above the crackle of the nearby hearth. "The Sineth Valley is but a mirror reflecting our deepest fears." Guin's eyes, reflecting the determination of his home civilization's pursuit of unity, met Straven's. "It is fear that may seal our fate to solitude," he replied. "Your counsel has been the compass guiding me through this labyrinth of shadows. Without it, the king may remain deaf to the harmony of the cosmos." Straven's smile as he poured another measure of the potent local brew into Guin's cup was tinged with irony. "My intentions, aimed at mending the rifts caused by the valley dispute, have been misconstrued as acts of division." "The king perceives your actions as treachery," Guin remarked, feeling the warmth of the drink clash with the cold foreboding in his heart. "Your Shifgrithor, the measure of your honor and influence, is under scrutiny, jeopardizing not just our alliance, but the very concept of honor that binds this society." The Prime Minister's gaze grew stormy, a prelude to the exile that loomed over him. "Yet, the intricate dance of politics continues. We must tread carefully, Guin. The precise word at the opportune moment might still sway the course of events." Their conversation unfolded as the palace's whispers swelled into a chorus. The game of influence was not merely a contest for dominance. It was a crucible testing the resolve of the heart against the cunning of the mind, with the destiny of entire worlds hanging delicately in the balance. Guin AI knew the journey ahead was fraught with peril. But with Straven's alliance, the stars might yet be within reach. The Exile's Lament. The cold Karhaide morning was unusually silent as Straven, once a respected member of the Kiorami, a council of advisors, stood before the gates of his ancestral home. His breath formed clouds in the frigid air, and his eyes, the color of the Gethenian ice, reflected a calm resignation. "Theron, you cannot leave like this," pleaded Eric, his brother, from the shadowed doorway. "They accuse you unjustly." Straven turned, his face betraying none of the turmoil that churned within. "It is the way of our world, Eric. To stand against the tide is to be swept away by it. But to advocate for the union of peoples, the Ecumen, is it treason?" Eric's voice cracked with emotion. "In the eyes of those who fear change, it is," Straven replied. "Karhaide is not just a land of ice and stone, but of fear and pride. My actions, meant to bridge gaps, have been seen as a chasm too wide to cross." As Straven prepared to step beyond the threshold, Guin, the envoy from the Ecumen, approached. The foreigner's gait was uneasy, his adaptation to the Gethenian ways still incomplete. "Straven, I do not understand your people's ways," Guin admitted, his voice tinged with frustration. Why must you leave? Your counsel has been wise. Straven offered a faint smile. Genly in Karhide, we play a subtle game, one of influence and power, where the rules are unwritten and the stakes can be one's very life. Genly looked at the ground, his thoughts a whirlwind of cultural confusion. And what of our mission? The alliance with the Ecumen? The mission is greater than one man, Genly. My absence may cast shadows on your path, but the light of understanding will find its way, as Straven said, his voice steady. Auric stepped forward, his hand on Straven's shoulder. You carry the honor of our family, Theron. Your journey will be a testament to your strength. Straven nodded, clasping his brother's hand. Keep the hearth warm, Eric. For one day, the ice may thaw, and Karhide will see a new dawn. With those final words, Straven turned away, stepping into the unknown, his figure gradually swallowed by the swirling snow. His departure was a journey into the very heart of what it meant to be Guthenian. And so, Straven's lament began, a song of solitude and strength, echoing across the icy plains of Karhide. The dance of diplomacy. In the bustling city of Missionary, Genly AI found himself amidst a whirlwind of political intrigue. The air was crisp, and the grand buildings of the commensal government towered over the city's orderly streets. It was here that Genly AI, the envoy from the Ecumen, was to engage in the delicate dance of diplomacy with the leaders of Orgarain. As he entered the grand hall for his meeting, Commissioner Shuskis greeted him with an unexpected warmth, a stark contrast to the reserved greetings of Karhide. Welcome, Envoy I. We've been eagerly awaiting your presence, Shuskis exclaimed, clasping Genly's hand with both of his own. Genly, taken aback by the openness, replied cautiously. Thank you, Commissioner. I hope my mission here will find fertile ground. The Commissioner led Genly to a large circular table where several leaders sat, their eyes fixed on the newcomer. Straven's gaze met Genly's, and there was a silent acknowledgement of the challenges they faced. Around the table, a tapestry of faces reflected the diversity of Orgarine's leadership. Tybe, a stern-faced man with a reputation for his unyielding stance, eyed Genly with a mixture of curiosity and skepticism. Opposite him, the youthful and eager Sether, whose innovative ideas often clashed with traditional views, offered Genly an encouraging smile. Obsla, a leader with sharp eyes and a calculating smile, was the first to speak. Envoy AI, we understand you bring offers of alliance and trade from the Ecumen. Tell us, why should we trust you when Karhide has turned you away? Genly took a deep breath, choosing his words carefully. Fear of the unknown is natural, but it is through understanding that we find common ground. The Ecumen seeks not to conquer but to unite. We offer knowledge, trade, and a place among the stars. Watching the exchange, as Straven interjected, what the envoy offers is a chance for progress, for Orgarin to step out of the shadow of Karhide and into the light of a new era. The room fell silent as the leaders pondered Straven's words. Yege, another leader with a more open demeanor, nodded thoughtfully. Perhaps it is time for Orgarin to lead the way, to show that we are more enlightened and willing to embrace the future. The discussion continued, with leaders expressing their fears, ambitions, and desires for prestige. Genly listened, understanding that each leader had their own motivations and that finding common ground would be key to his mission's success. Before the meeting, Genly reflected on the path that had led him here. The road to understanding is fraught with obstacles, he thought, but every step is a chance to build bridges where walls once stood. As the meeting drew to a close, Shuskis raised his glass of life water, a traditional Orgata beverage known for its invigorating properties, a clear liquid that shimmered in the light. To the envoy and the possibilities that lie ahead, he toasted, and the others followed suit. Genly AI left the hall with a sense of cautious optimism. The dance of diplomacy had begun, and the steps were intricate and unpredictable. But with a willingness to understand and be understood, there was hope for a harmonious future. The icy winds of missionary whispered of change, and Genly AI was ready to face whatever came next. The Fortellers Vision. In the dimly lit chamber, the air was thick with anticipation. Genly AI, the envoy from the Ecumen, sat cross-legged on the cushioned floor, his eyes fixed on the group of foretellers gathered before him. The walls of the room were adorned with intricate tapestries depicting the cosmos, a silent testament to the Handera's reverence for the universe's mysteries. The foretellers, cloaked in their ceremonial garb, began their chant. "Ask your question, envoy," intoned the lead foreteller, his voice echoing in the chamber. Genly cleared his throat. "What will be the outcome of my efforts to bring Gethin into the Ecumen?" he asked. The room seemed to pulse with energy, and then silence fell. The lead foreteller's eyes snapped open, a piercing gaze that seemed to see through Genly. "The web of time is complex," he began. "Your path is intertwined with that of another, one who walks the line between loyalty and betrayal. The success of your mission hinges not on the alliances you seek, but on the trust you build," the foreteller continued. "The ice that binds you will also set you free." With the foreteller's enigmatic vision etched in their minds, Genly and Straven understood that their journey would be one of mutual reliance, a testament to the power of trust in an uncertain world. They were ready to face whatever lay ahead, guided by the bonds they would forge. The Crucible of Trust. The cold stone walls of the Orgarane prison echoed with the shuffling of feet as Straven and Genly AI were herded into their shared cell. The dim light barely reached the corners, casting long shadows that seemed to whisper of the despair that had soaked into the very stones. Straven sat on the thin mattress, his eyes fixed on the small barred window high above. "They fear what they do not understand," he murmured, more to himself than to Genly AI. "And they fear you, AI, because you bring change." Genly AI paced the cell, his frustration palpable. "I came to offer knowledge, alliance, but they've twisted it into conspiracy. I don't understand your people, Straven." A faint smile touched Straven's lips. "And yet you must if we are to survive this place." The days turned into weeks, and the harsh conditions of the prison wore on them. Food was scarce, and the water was often foul. But it was the silence that was most oppressive, the absence of any sound from the outside world. It was in this silence that they began to truly talk. "Why do you help me, Straven?" Genly AI asked one evening, his voice barely above a whisper. "After all that's happened, why risk so much?" Straven's gaze was steady. "Because what you speak of, this unity of worlds, it's a vision worth the risk. My people are trapped in their own cycles of fear and power. You offer a way out." Their conversations grew deeper, and Genly AI found himself sharing stories of his own world, of the vastness of space and the myriad cultures he'd encountered. Straven listened, his curiosity unfeigned, his questions sharp and insightful. One night, as they lay in the darkness, Straven's lessons in the subtle art of Shifgrithor began to take root in Genly AI's mind. Through a shared look, a gesture, a pause, he communicated respect and understanding, navigating the complex social weave with a grace he had not possessed before. The day of their escape came unexpectedly. A sympathetic guard whose brother had once been saved by Straven's intervention in a border skirmish left the door unlocked. "Go," he urged, "before dawn breaks." They fled into the icy wasteland, the cold biting at their faces, the wind howling like a beast enraged. But they did not stop, for they carried with them more than just the hope of freedom. They carried a newfound trust, a bond forged in the crucible of their shared ordeal. As they trudged through the snow, Straven turned to Genly AI. "Do you trust me, AI?" Genly AI met his eyes, and in them he saw not just an ally, but a friend. With my life, Straven. And with those words, they moved forward, not just as envoy in exile, but as brothers in arms, united by a trust that would change the fate of worlds. The Wasteline Alliance. Straven and Genly AI trudged through the thick snow, their breaths visible in the frigid air of Guin's winter. The white landscape stretched endlessly before them, a canvas of isolation and survival. Genly nodded, pulling his fur-lined hood tighter around his face. He watched Straven's figure ahead, a shadow against the blinding white. As night approached, they set up a makeshift camp, the tent barely holding against the gusts of wind. Inside, they huddled together for warmth, sharing the meager rations of food they had. Straven placed a reassuring hand on his shoulder. Remember what's at stake. The next day, they faced new challenges. The terrain grew steeper, the risk of avalanches ever present. They spoke little, conserving their energy, communicating through gestures and brief glances. At one point, Straven slipped, his foot catching on a hidden ice patch. Genly reached out, grabbing his arm just in time. "Thanks," Straven breathed, his expression softening. "No," Genly replied. "We owe each other everything." They continued their journey, each step a testament to their alliance. The wasteland was unforgiving, but together they found strength. And in the silence of the icy world, their bond deepened, unspoken but as real as the ground beneath their feet. As they settled for another night, Genly looked at Straven, the man who had become his ally, his friend. Straven smiled, and in that smile Genly saw the reflection of their shared determination. Tomorrow they would face the wasteland again, but they would face it together. The sacrifice for unity. In the dim light of the early dawn, Straven stood at the edge of the frozen lake, the cold wind biting at his face. He turned to Genly AI, his eyes solemn. "It's time," he said. "You must go on without me." Genly shook his head, his breath forming clouds in the frigid air. "I won't leave you behind. We can find another way." Straven's gaze was unwavering, a mix of resolve and sorrow. "There is no other way," he insisted. "The patrols from Guin are methodical and lethal. They've been tracking us for days, and their orders are clear. Capture or kill. If they find us together, they'll execute us both without hesitation. But if I confront them alone, it will create a diversion. They'll be too preoccupied with me to notice your escape." Genly's heart sank. He had come to rely on Straven, not just for survival, but for the friendship that had grown between them against all odds. "How will I manage without you?" he asked, his voice barely above a whisper. "You are stronger than you know," Straven replied, placing a hand on Genly's shoulder. "And you carry the hope of Guin with you." With a heavy heart, Genly watched as Straven walked towards the rising sun, towards the enemy. The snow crunched under Straven's boots, the stark white expanse of the lake reflecting the first light of day, casting long shadows that seemed to reach for Straven as he moved forward. Genly knew that Straven's sacrifice was not just for him, but for the future of their worlds. As Straven's figure grew smaller in the distance, Genly allowed himself a moment of reflection. He remembered the first time he met Straven, the initial distrust, and how it had slowly transformed into an unbreakable bond. Straven had taught him the true meaning of sacrifice and courage. Turning north, Genly set his sights on the distant horizon, where the Echoman ship awaited. The promise of unity and the weight of Straven's sacrifice now rested on his shoulders. He stepped forward, determined to honor his friend's bravery by completing their mission. The dawn of cooperation. The morning sun cast a golden glow over the city of Erenran. In the grand hall of the palace, Genly AI addressed King Argavan with a message of peace from the Echoman. Argavin inquired about a Straven, to which Genly affirmed his friend's belief in unity and understanding, and his hope for cooperation in his memory. As envoys from the Ecumen shared stories of distant worlds, the children of Karheidi listened intently, envisioning a universe of friendship. The people's excitement was palpable as they embraced the Ecumen's presence. Genly Ai and King Argavin stood together as the Ecumen delegates arrived, symbolizing the beginning of a new era. With a warm welcome from Argavin, the path toward peace and understanding between Karheidi and Orgarain was set, honoring Straven's vision. The city rejoiced, hopeful for a future of unity.